Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the Engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live, headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay, every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Art Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.
Welcome to Wired to Hunt's Rut Fresh Radio, bringing you the latest reports from the Whitetail Woods. Presented by First Light, creating proven, versatile hunting apparel for the stand, saddle, or blind. First Light. Go farther, stay longer. And now, your hosts, KC Smith and Tyler Jones.
Welcome to Rut Fresh Radio. I'm your host, KC Smith. November is coming to a close, but does that mean the rut is over? No way. There's still plenty of ways to capitalize on cold fronts and buck movement this time of year. This is Rut Fresh. Let's go.
What's happening, all my woods people? My name is Tyler Jones. I'm your host, one of your hosts, and KC Smith is here. This is Rut Fresh Radio. It's brought to you by First Light Gear. Today, we're back on the Nebraska Furniture Mart.
Hey, how about that? And by the way, speaking of First Light Gear, it is Black Friday week. I don't know if y'all know that, but the capitalist society we live in has pushed this single day into, like, a lot of days.
Be careful with how you say that, because my wife just walked in, and if you say Black Friday week, that means you're a week from Black Friday.
She thinks that
it'll be Black Friday in a week.
I thought you
know
were
what
saying
I mean?
That means
like
that
when
she
people say Monday week or whatever. Oh yeah, it's in Monday week. You know,
I actually understand that, but I
understand it. I just like being difficult about it because I never would say it.
I got some Como in me, as does your wife. You know, Como.
Oh, Como.
Yeah, that's where it comes from.
She got that Birch Creek.
But this is Rut Fresh Radio. We ain't going to talk about too much of that stuff, but go check out the Meat Eater website, First Light website, all that stuff for some great Black Friday deals. Follow us on social so you can see some more detail about that stuff. What we're going to try to do this week is be real funny and not talk about sales too much, and hopefully that y'all like that.
But, hey, here's the thing. Black Friday is a good chance to get things you need.
That's guarantee you.
I mean, this is me telling you what I got. We're sitting in a house that we bought I built this house a couple years ago, and we bought our appliances on Black Friday and just left them in storage for months. We didn't move in until May or whatever, So that was my wife. She's also very smart, even though she says Monday week and stuff like that. That was her idea. But my point is, if you think you can dish out a little money and you may not use this stuff until next year, it's still going to be good gear that's worth buying.
Some of your most expensive pieces are going to be the late season pieces because they have the most material, and you can buy them right now, still use them in late season, and they're going to be a lot less expensive that way. So go check out all that stuff.
I'm all about discounts, man.
I guarantee them to you.
I can't be doing this. If inflation is too bad these days, I've
got my eye on a few pew-pews, and I'm waiting until this week.
Are you?
Yeah.
You going to pull the trigger? No pun intended.
I don't know. There's, FBI's listening right now, so I can't say too much. But anyways, we're going to talk about some whitetail. There is a cold front sweeping the nation. Maybe not the nation. Cold fronts are weird. I really don't understand how it works for the Northeast.
Yeah, I don't either.
Thankfully, we do got a report from Pennsylvania this week on here. Cold fronts, I don't know how they hit all that stuff. So if you got some information on that, let us know. However,
generally for the plains, the Midwest, Texas, we get a lot of Rocky Mountain cold fronts. I don't know.
Those are the best.
How far they carry, though. And do they stop at the Mississippi, or surely not, right?
I don't think so. I mean, it just depends on the strength of it, I guess, and what's going on in the Gulf. Which
What's
I
cool
think
is
there's
we can talk about
systems.
this with as much expertise as the actual weatherman.
That's right.
Have no better clue what's going on. I feel
There's that will help a lot of the hunting because, we had that huge cold front move through for like Halloween, and I capitalized on that.
Dude, I've been working on that video today.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, it's going to come out soon. We're trying to get it out before Thanksgiving.
Before?
Yeah.
Oh, hot dog.
The plan is to have it out when this podcast releases.
Hot dog.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to link to the Element channel below. You can go watch me kill my biggest South Dakota buck by far. Like one of my biggest bucks I killed from the ground.
He's a toad, dude.
Just doing, I don't even know if you'd call it spot and stalk. I mean, it was just like spot and run. But anyways, it's cool. Y'all enjoy the video, I think. But since then, the weather has not been very conducive to whitetails. It's been pretty tough. Mm-hmm. The rut I don't think it's as slow as it was last year as far as like perceived movement. We've had some really good reports, especially last week. I think a lot of big deer went down around the country in the 7 to 14 dates of the month. But it's still been pretty warm. It's not been like just on fire, just cold days. And we're about to get that this week of Thanksgiving. So if you got a little time off or you got a little room around the holiday stuff, it's a good time to go get in the woods. And we always like to be pretty encouraging. Like it's not a lot of fun to be a Debbie Downer or to be down in the dumps too much, right, Tyler?
No. Been there.
Yeah.
But I'm fixing to be. Because I'm going to be doing all these Thanksgivings, like sitting there looking at my trail cameras on my Moultrie app, just being like, oh, my goodness.
We also have a report from Oklahoma this week, which isn't a very good report because it was tough.
I thought it was a good report.
Well, I mean, it's a good report. the how would you say that? Action in Oklahoma was pretty bad over the past week because it was like got to 80 one day. It was rough. Anyways, you're about to be in Oklahoma during a cold front, during Thanksgiving, and there's going to be big bucks splashing through all the rivers.
Don't you think for a second I'm not taking my bow.
Hey, no joke.
You just don't know.
I didn't think about that.
I mean, I don't think my wife's going to let it like be a hunting thing, but if you just happen to see one spontaneously,
if she's like
driving
my
around,
wife, she won't know the morning hunt happens.
Yeah. She's a lot like your wife in that matter, for sure.
So you can get a whole hunt in there.
The problem is Journey's going to be awake.
She's tiny. You can carry her in a backpack.
Well, my mom will watch her. My mom's a morning person.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dib. Yeah,
she actually is not tiny anymore.
Yeah.
I've realized.
Oh, she's tall.
She's like 80 pounds.
Oh, she weighs that much?
Yeah.
Wow.
Thick.
She's going to be solid. My anniversary is a great day, my wedding anniversary. However, it is November 19th, which meant my honeymoon was a really good hunting week. And
it was cold the day you got married.
Yeah, it was cold. A cold front hit.
I was freezing my tail off out there, dude.
And so, we went to Southeast Oklahoma on our honeymoon and, just get a redneck, cheap, just poor kid honeymoon. And I'm fishing in the river. And it's like probably the 21st. And then just this gnarly 9-point just goes splashing right through the trout stream. Just
Bambi.
Just chasing.
Bambi's dad.
Trying to find a doe. And I was like, freaking out. But, so all that to say is that we still have some really good dates ahead of us. Mm-hmm. Maybe if you're in Nodak or something like that, you're thinking about kind of more some different patterns. I don't know, though, man. I
don't know either.
We got a report from Montana this week, and it sounds like it's rocking and rolling. So I think that the thing holds true that Iowa is really specific with rut. And then everything outside of that, man, it gets a little bit softer on when the hard dates are. You know what I mean?
Here's my thing, though. Is it Iowa is that way, or is it Iowa-based hunting media is that way?
I think it could be that because
there's this thing called FOMO, where you try, you don't. It's the way you would make if you weren't doing Black Friday week, you would do, hey, 1 day Black Friday sale, don't miss it, right? Mm-hmm. Fear of missing out that you're going to miss the 1 day sale. So that's why I guess we're doing a long sale so you don't miss it. But my point is, people like to do that kind of thing. Like, hey, don't miss it now. Go get in the woods,
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder if it's not that way. Also, You have some theories about this, but quickly, I have a question for you. Is the rut shifting? Or is it just a 2-year coincidence here?
If you were to hear, I think that we don't understand the rut, first of all. But if you would to just, without looking at science and just go observed rut, right? Which, what is there in this world except what we can observe? Okay. You would listen to Rut Fresh Radio and say the second and third week of November are the best dates. That's what you would hear from people. Even though we all know from Bill Winke kills a lot of big deer, Mark Drury kills a lot of big deer, that the 5th through the 8th is like the time, right, for peak chasing. So what does that mean exactly? Are we missing out on, do we not understand that when we perceive rut movement, it's actually the second push of movement? In the first push of movement, the deer find their hot dose so fast that you don't see it happen. I kind of wonder if that's a thing.
I also wonder, there's a bunch of big buck killers that like October better than they like November. It's because they usually have a property that a big buck exists on in October, and then they can hunt him on patterns. And I wonder if these guys like the rut, like it because it gets deer moving, but it is also, those earlier dates also are before A, the fighting breaks their antlers, and B, all the guys get a chance at them for 2 or 3 weeks, right? So, the deer are still alive on November 5th a lot of times.
Here's another take on that, is that a lot of hunting media perpetuates ideas based on large managed properties. And if you have a good buck to doe ratio on a large managed properties, those dates probably hold really true.
Yeah, you're probably
But you know where there's not a good buck to doe ratio? Most public land. Yeah. And you know what's going on in public land? It's the bump and bump. It ain't even bump and dump. No. It's just those deer are getting messed with all the time. There's dudes chasing them. It's going wild, right? So, he might have been trying to breed that doe, but then you just split them up and they all ran different directions. That doe missed her cycle because of that, and she comes in later or whatever. So, there's a whole aspect of why it might look different in other parts of the country.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Lots of dynamics, lots of variables. It's pretty fun to think about, man. I'm glad that we haven't figured it out so we can continue thinking and talking about it.
That's right. We got some dynamic characters on the podcast today, don't we, Tyler?
Enough. Yeah, we do. We've got, this was kind of cool. Derek Wolfe, who is an ex-teammate of one of my ex-teammates, Emmanuel Sanders. He was out in Pennsylvania recently. We talked to him. You might have seen him on the Meat Eater podcast fairly recently. He was on there, I guess, a couple months ago or whenever that was. Dylan Dowson from OnX, a guy we've known for years now. Really appreciate Dylan. He's been a believer in the element for a long time, and he was the first guy that ever in the industry that ever said, "Hey, I want to partner with you guys and be a part of what y'all are doing, man." So I really have had a lot of respect for him for a while. Our good buddy Eric Gentry, who spends a lot of time in trees with us.
He does,
and he spent some time actually with a tag in his pocket and a bow in his hand on the ground, hunting out in Oklahoma.
One thing I noticed, and I don't know if this was in Eric's review. Report or not, but he said across.
No way.
Yeah.
Because I heard him say across twice yesterday for sure.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but he did not use the T.
Listen, y'all, if y'all say crossed, do you say crossbow? Is that how you say this word?
I actually want to start using that.
Crossbow.
Yeah, crossbow.
Yeah. I think that's what they do, man.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not making sense.
And who's our last one?
Byron Horton from Ohio. Just a good time. Very knowledgeable hunter, man. He's got some pretty high level thoughts about what the deer are doing up in Ohio, which is debatably the Midwest, debatably the East, debatably the North.
I feel like if I want to call Ohio something, it's the Iron Belt.
Yeah, me too. Is that true, though? Is it actually the Iron Belt?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Cleveland is like the heart of that.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I always thought Iron Belt, too, but I was thinking, is that Pennsylvania, though? Or I guess it's all that section.
Yeah, it depends on what. I feel like Ohio changes a lot depending on what town you're in. Because there's 2 or 3 big towns, right? There's Cleveland,
Columbus,
Cincinnati. Is that Ohio? See, I think Cincinnati. Akron.
We flew in there one time?
Yeah.
That was terrible.
That was like a single terminal. It was a little tiny airport. But Cincinnati is in Ohio, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. I feel like it's Indiana, but it's not.
It's Indiana.
I've never been to Cincinnati. Michael's mad at us right now.
That's all right, man. He's always mad.
He is mad, Mike. But anyways, those are going to be some good reviews for us today. Or not reviews, some good reports for us today. And just to leave y'all, before we get into these, with some encouragement, it ain't over. There's big bucks going to hit the ground this week.
That's right.
Get out there.
All right, now I've got Derek Wolfe. He's an ex-NFL player, and now he's on the phone with us talking hunting because that's kind of what you live and breathe. Actually, you're pretty involved in a lot of things, aren't you, right now?
Yeah, but I mean, mostly hunting and podcasting, and
yeah,
I do a lot of working out and training and stuff like that. But being a dad and a husband is pretty much what I do now.
Hey, you work out with Emmanuel quite a bit, don't you?
Yeah, I work out with E a lot.
Yeah. I played college ball with him at SMU.
Oh, you went to SMU?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He and I got to go against each other every day for about 4 years. I was a safety.
Nice.
Yep. So, anyway, I noticed it. I saw y'all on Instagram, kind of, doing some working out together and that kind of thing. But pretty cool tie there. Yeah.
Small world, man. It's
yeah,
good.
I know, isn't it, man? It is. It's smaller than you think sometimes. But you've been out in Pennsylvania doing some deer hunting, and
Yeah.
what was that like, man? Were you hunting like hills, or were you hunting more flatland country?
Yeah, big hills, Appalachia. Yeah, it's like 3 hours east of Pittsburgh is where I was at. So it was like super, super steep hills, rolling hills, deep valleys, big hollows. So I was hunting a lot. What I was doing is I was hunting a lot of like pinch points and transition zones and hunting those bowls that they like to, trying to find where these does are bedding and trying to get downwind from them. The hard part was the wind switches every 3 minutes there. So
yeah.
It was hard to kind of dial in one good spot. But the first morning was really, really good. It was, I hunt from a tree saddle. So we get set up. It takes about 10 minutes to set up, and then, 30 minutes later, first light, pokes out. I hear something kind of rustling up to my right, and a doe comes down through, and I was like, oh, it's just a doe. And she was just kind of, feeding. There's a big acorn patch there, so she was just feeding along there. And then a smaller buck came up, and like a little basket 6-point. Then she didn't really pay any attention to it. And then next thing you know, all hell breaks loose. And out in those valleys, it's just like you can hear them forever in those, when they're busting through the woods. And she takes off busting through there, and this bigger buck comes down through there, big, like nice, like a probably 130-inch 8-point, comes busting down, chasing her. And I was like, oh, gee. I'm like, you could hear them all the way for like a mile. You could hear them just all the way around that bowl. They went all the way around that bowl and then over the ridge, and then you couldn't hear them anymore. But then after that happened, there was like 4 different bucks that came through there. So
just a hot doe kind of made the whole area turn on.
Yeah, just the hot doe turned it all on. And then like 2 hours later, another buck had come down come up from another spot. But I was like, man, this is a good spot. She's obviously hanging out. I think she was bedded up there and got bumped by that little buck. And then I think the bigger ones just all came into there. So,
well, if things are going crazy like that, would you think you'd be better off like stationary in a tree waiting on the mess to come by, or does it make sense to kind of move and try to head deer off like that?
So that's what we did. We got down and we moved up. We moved up to where we had seen them kind of moving down there, because we were on like a saddle too. It's a saddle right there. So there's movement coming from all directions. So we moved up there about probably like 100 yards up the hill and got like right on the saddle. And we had another couple bucks that had come. It was the right move, because we ended up grunting and rattling at bucks, and they would come up and check it out.
Was your wind more consistent on top of that saddle?
No, it was worse actually up there on that saddle. Because that's why we didn't end up being able to kill one. We had some really nice bucks, some like 130, 140 bucks that in the mountains up there. That's a big buck, So we had some good bucks that were like in killable position, and we just needed the wind to stay right. And we would have got, he would have come in there and checked it out. But, we'd get him to like 40 yards, 50 yards, and it's thick brush in there. So, you're not threading the needle through that stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
So if you're on the ground, maybe, but being up in a tree, 15, 20 feet, it's a little bit more difficult.
as we push here into the Thanksgiving time of year, like things start to change a little bit in the woods. All the leaves are down and stuff. What do you think the deer are going to be doing in this next week or so?
Oh, I think that I think they're either going to. So in my experience, I think that they're going to go into lockdown. Like I think they're just locking down on their does.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've got their doe and they're going to lock her down for a couple days and breed her, and then I think on Thanksgiving Day or the day after, they are going to go nuts looking for more does. Like it's going to be that like that prime looking for does. Like they're going to be out walking in the middle of the day, showing their face in the daylight. And I think we're just a couple days away from that.
Sure.
Because they weren't really responding to rattles. You know what I mean? And normally when a buck is like heavy, when they're heavy, like even when they're on a lockdown and you start rattling, they'll get up and go, looking around to make sure there's no bucks around, to just chase them off. But these bucks weren't even really responding to the rattle yet. So I think they were still in that, like looking for a hot doe mode, still like keeping their wind right, not really making any big mistakes. Cause that was the thing. We couldn't get a buck to make a mistake. He was still going to get his wind right.
Right.
But I think that this week is the week to do it. I think if you're going to go hunt these bucks and do like all day sits, this is the time.
Yes, sir. Man, that's what I'm talking about. That's I feel the same way. We've talked to a lot of people from across the country, and myself, I've been in 3 states the last week, and it seems like that with kind of like the hot weather, the first couple of weeks in November, it's been just kind of like just real even keel, and I feel like you get a little weather here pretty soon around this Thanksgiving holiday, and things are going to really bust loose. So with that in mind, in the next week, if you had to guess, a number 1 to 10 for buck movement in Pennsylvania, what would you think it's going to be?
Oh man, I'm saying like a 7 or an 8.
All right.
It's going to be, I really do. And I think because what happens is they got that little rifle season that kicks off. Mm-hmm. So they get a little bit spooky, but once that's over, they get like a 2-3 day period to settle down. They're going to be on it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's going to be good. So catch an acorn patch, sit on a saddle, find a doe, like just do your research and look at an area where you think does might be bed and get downwind from that. And you'll catch some bucks looking for their next doe. Cause I think they've bred their first doe now. And now they're going to be ready.
Yeah.
For another, they're going to be ready. Like they're going to be looking for it.
That's right, man. Shoot.
That's where you're going to catch them screwing up,
Yep. That's what we need a lot of times, man. We're not good enough to get them when they're on their game. We got to get them when they're off the game sometimes. But man, thank you for the report, Derek. I hope you have more success this year, man. It looks like you've already done that a little bit, and I'm real happy for you, man. I hope that it keeps going well for you. Thanks for hopping on the phone with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Right now, I've got Dylan Dowson from Onyx. He's just straight up a killer, man. I mean, he will shoot an elk, sight unseen antlers, and it'll end up being a 350. You know what I mean? So they're bigger. What's going on, dude?
Oh yeah, thanks for having me on. The elk sight unseen this year being a 350 Sun Bowl was that was a good kickoff to the year. So sometimes you just got to take those when they're handed to you.
Yeah. So you've been out in Montana hunting some deer, and you ended up with one of the mule deer types, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I shot one of the mule deer types this year. So Montana, for anybody listening who's not familiar, you basically get an A tag. That allows you to hunt whitetail or mule deer. So depending on what part of the state you're in, honestly, pretty much most of the state that I've hunted, man, it's like 50-50, some areas, 70-30 and vice versa. But there's pretty much whitetail and mule deer, what seems like everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm from Eastern Montana. I currently live in Western Montana. And so I travel, pretty much from Idaho to North Dakota every year, whether I'm hunting elk, deer, or whatever. So it is pretty cool because you're not really stuck to one species or the other.
Sure.
And some years, like, whitetail are doing better. Their populations, and some of your mule deer are doing better. And it seems like I'm kind of 50-50 ever since I've been 12 and able to hunt here in Montana. It seems like I've probably shot a few more mule deer than whitetail, but it's pretty down the middle.
Yeah. So as far as that herd goes this year, does it look good out there? Are you seeing a bunch of deer moving around right now?
Yeah, this past week I've been hunting pretty hard. I've got one more week to go. A lot of tags are filled. Actually, we filled 2 tags yesterday. My wife shot a really nice buck. I was with my cousin when he shot a really, really heavy whitetail, just a really old whitetail, really big basis, just heavy, gnarly buck. But yeah, man, it's been good. I've seen a lot of deer chasing, both mule deer and whitetail, but particularly this past week, like whitetail, I've seen a lot of bucks like singling out does and literally running them for like a mile. We came over the hill. We were driving to a new spot a few days ago and came over the hill, and I was like, oh man, there's a deer, scooting across the field. And at first I kind of thought she was running from us. And I threw up the binos, and 20 yards behind her was a pretty nice buck, like, mid 130s, not a shooter, but just a respectable deer that you want to look at. And I mean, quickly I realized they were not running from us. That buck had that doe on full tilt across the stubble field, and they got to the end of it. He caught up to her and turned her the other way. One of those deals where they're acting like a quarter horse, just like figuring out which way they're going to go. And then he ran her basically half a section back the other way. So I've seen a lot of bucks chasing like single does and like a little pocket of does, 3 or 4 does over there, but he's interested in obviously that one that's hot. And yeah, I think there's some hot does right now.
So you're doing a lot of gun hunting out there, and right now it is, gun seasons are opening up or are open across the country. If you're trying to capitalize on that kind of buck movement where they're pushing does and running like crazy, what's your setup going to be like?
So a lot of times what I prefer is to get up high, if the country allows, and sit and kind of just let things happen. So 4 or 5 days ago, my dad and I hiked up to this high point, and it's all kind of egg land where we were. So there's a lot of whitetail country, there's coulees. So it's whitetail and mule deer country. Again, it's kind of one of those spots, 50-50. You don't know what species you're going to run into. And it's just really good habitat for both. But we hiked up to this knob, and really this knob is only probably 50 vertical feet above anything else around us, right? But it gives us at least an opportunity to glass 360 and kind of just let the deer move to us. Sitting on that knob, we had a mature mule deer and a mature whitetail buck that were just straight cruising. They weren't chasing does. They weren't with does. I spotted both those deer from, almost mile to maybe the mule deer was probably 1.5 miles away. And both of them ran. They didn't trot. They weren't walking, cruising. They ran from where I spotted them to within 75 yards of us.
That's cool.
It's actually pretty funny because both of them, this was like 1.5 hours apart from each other, and they took almost the exact same path by us. And they're just cruising looking for does. So I really like to get up high and sit, because had we have been walking around and moving a little bit more, those deer wouldn't have ran within 50 to 75 yards of us. But we were able to let them do their thing and sit up high, watch them for a long ways coming. We knew they were both really mature deer, but I was able to watch them in the spotting scope run from that far away to, again, under 100 yards, 75 yards, and know that, we weren't going to shoot either one of those bucks. Sure. But, if you're walking coulees and whatever, it's just, it's doable. It's, you might shoot a really nice deer like that, but you're also trying to judge them as they're, their tails down and running in the bottom of the coulee at that point. So I like to get up high and use the glass, and especially this time of year when they're moving around searching for does.
Yeah, dude. And you're a killer, man. So this is good information, man. And, Casey and I have probably known you since 2017 or so, man. We appreciate your friendship and everything like that. And just the support of OnX over the years, man, it has meant a lot to us. Thanks for hopping on the phone with us. Before you go though, we got to have a rating here. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what does the buck movement look like in the next week, in your opinion?
Yeah, based on what I've seen this past week and even just like yesterday, it seems like it's only gotten better. We here in Montana, we had a cold snap like probably 3 to 4 weeks ago where it got really, really cold, like 0 or below, had quite a bit of snow. It's warmer now, so I was kind of nervous that it was going to kind of shut off the rut. But, man, the last couple of days, what I've seen, that is not the case. I would say out of 1 to 10, 7.8.
Ooh, I like
Very
it.
specific.
That's like my grade average, man, in high
That's it.
school. So, well, actually, college probably.
Yeah.
I was a little bit smarter in high school than I was in
Well,
college.
we appreciate the info, man, and the good rating. It gives us a lot of optimism. Thanks, dude.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay? Every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Art Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.
This is Byron Horton with Whitetail Experience, and he has been chasing them all over in Ohio. What's up, dude?
Dude, just got through my big push, and we're regrouping today.
Yeah, that's good, man. I'm glad that you're able to kind of woo-saw and bring it all back in. It's a necessary thing sometimes after a big rut push. Do you feel tired? Do you feel like that you achieved something? Do you feel like you went and did the thing, or do you still feel like there's things that are undone?
So I feel like I saw the whole rut. I saw the chasing, the cruising, the close encounters, missed my shot opportunity. I saw it all. So I'm at peace with it. But I'm not going to lie, man, I really want to kill something.
I think you will. I know you, dude. You're a killer. So this past week, you said you spent a lot of time out there. What was kind of the major emphasis? That's kind of like, I guess, what most people consider like the second-ish week of the rut, and things are kind of changing. What were the deer doing?
Yeah, so I actually think Ohio's a touch behind. I'll call it the core Midwest. I feel like last week's our peak. Traditionally, I have always taken, we'll call it like the 7th through the 15th as better than the 1st through the 7th.
Cool.
Just as far as seeing deer, seeing bucks, personal encounters, generally the weather's a little better for the most part. But yeah, I literally last week saw it all, bucks, dog and does, 4-pointers running loose everywhere. It was a great time.
So were you hunting, travel corridors, pinch points, or were you spending more time like near food sources of some sort?
So I would say I am much more of a let's hunt the does in the bedding areas with maybe like an extra terrain type feature. I generally hunt the big woods, more steeper terrain. So like I like what I call compounding features, maybe like a hogback meets the doe bedding type habitat, and generally too I had scouted some does in late October, so I kind of knew where my doe groups were, and that was the plan, and that's what I ran. I would hunt scrapes too. I guess that was my second most popular ambush point last week.
I like that, man.
How do you find those does? You said you're scouting does. How are you finding them?
Yeah, a lot of times. Trail cams. I late October, I spent 4 days literally just walking, and yes, I'd bump some does. Yes, I would pull some cards and be like, oh, there's does in here on a regular basis. Deer poop, just beating down tracks, more just like stuff telling me they're in here a lot more frequent. And obviously when you're boots to ground, you're seeing the habitat of, oh, this looks like doe bedding. Like I'm not going to make up some crazy term. This is where the doe's bed.
Yeah. So you're looking at thickets and stuff that you see and you're like, okay, they're in there.
Yeah, thickets, maybe some grasses, maybe points where the sun hits first thing in the day kind of stuff. That and deer poop, honestly. Collections of deer poop, collections of beds, that kind of thing.
So you spent some time hunting scrapes. How effective was that?
Ooh, so I had multiple hunts where I had does come in, bebop the scrape, even at like 11 noon, and then one time was like gray lightish. And I'm like, okay, I know what should happen the next 12, 24 hours. And I'd see some 2.5-year-olds. I just didn't have a shooter kind of follow that doe or read the script. My trail cams told me I hunted scrapes on wrong days, if you will.
I did the same thing last week, man. It just hurts down deep inside.
Yeah. One of my best encounters was on a scrape. That was the 6th Sense buck, where he came over this like bluffy point, and he's looking over this bottom for what felt like forever. And he just said, I'm not going to go down to that scrape today. And he's 50 yards from it.
Mm-hmm. Right. So in the next week or so, would you still focus on some of the things we were focused on this week? So like doe bedding and maybe scrapes, or would you take what you learned this past week and apply it to next week and change things up?
The final week of November, I'm going to go a little bit more heavy terrain pinch type hunts where like I just want to collect big lines of movement. And then I would still hunt scrapes. I get a lot of pictures of, bucks recirculating their little circuit, and they got to figure out where the does are that are still hot or about to pop. And so I would still hunt scrapes, but maybe a little bit more emphasis on the best hogback pinch point of a whole mountain.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. So if you had to rate the upcoming week on a scale of 1 to 10 on buck movement, what would you call it?
I'm still going to go 7.5. We got one warm day, but I'm still pretty high for the overall scale.
We're getting some decimals this week.
It,
dude. I like them.
Second decimal we got. That's cool. Yeah. And, dude, 7.5 is a good number, man. So it's still a good time to be in the woods in Ohio. Byron, we appreciate the report, man.
Absolutely, fellas.
This is Eric Gentry. He's also known as Oklahoma Gentry because he's been out in Oklahoma doing some hunting. Eric, what are you doing, man?
Man, just driving up to Illinois to see some family for Thanksgiving.
This is Eric with the Element. Eric.
Yeah, this is Eric with the Element.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah,
so Eric's going to Illinois. He might have Illinois report for us next week, but he's got an Oklahoma one this week after eating Thanksgiving noodles, as Casey just mentioned off air. So apparently Thanksgiving noodles are a thing, but we don't know what they are. Eric does, and I think some of the more heart of the Midwestern people mightn't understand it. But,
some will, yeah.
Yeah, there's something about it.
I feel like it's spaghetti with cream of chicken on top. That's what I think it is.
No,
pretty much,
tomato sauce. Yeah.
So enough of the culinary experience here in the Midwest, Eric. You hunted kind of the West, just, west of the Midwest, I guess you'd say, in Oklahoma this past week. I may have seen you there, but we wanted to get your take because you actually had some action. Did you feel like you had a good hunt?
Man, it was, I don't know. It was tough.
Yeah.
It was the first time I ever got a tag there, and it was some of the toughest hunting I've done. There's just not a lot of public land. There's big deer being killed on private, but I mean, there's a lot of hunters around, and I don't know if it was the warm weather and a combination of a lockdown phase, but it was tough.
How do you know it was lockdown?
Well, one morning I had a pretty good buck encounter, but he was locked down with a doe, and he would not leave that doe's side. Anything she was doing, he was doing.
Did you try the Tink 69 or what?
No, I tried the old snort wheeze, but that didn't work.
Yeah.
It got her attention, and she kind of stared around for at least an hour, and nothing else happened. Yeah.
How are you making your moves up there? Was it off of trail camera data or like stuff you were seeing or what was going on?
Yeah, we were watching the trail cameras and kind of deciding what we wanted to do. We were hunting bed to feed patterns because the cameras just weren't giving us a lot of data, and a lot of the pictures were at night, so it was really tough.
Yeah.
Okay, so you hunted near a scrape though at one point, right? How'd that pan out for you?
Well, it was like a thing where I feel like the lockdown was going on, like Eric says, and then like bucks will come off does and they'll move through and maybe hit a scrape or two. And the one day we weren't on the scrape, a buck came through that I would have shot, and then after that it was just nothing. And
so would y'all both agree pretty unpredictable movement?
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Be it like, if you think about it, this time of year can be awesome it's a feast or famine deal, right? It's Eric either eating a bunch of pizza because they're killing deer,
or he's
just not
fasting
eating
on the way to
anything.
Illinois.
Yeah, exactly. Getting ready for Thanksgiving, you know.
That's it.
But it's like you might sit there and not see anything because you got a bunch of bucks that are locked down in an area, and then all of a sudden, if you're sitting at the right scrape or you're sitting in the right, if a deer wants to act like he wants to be on public land for a little bit instead of private land, like then it could be one of the best days of your life. You know?
What do you think the limiting factor was this past week, Eric?
Man, I don't know. I don't know. It's tough to say, really. I couldn't tell you. It was my first time hunting Oklahoma, so.
Do you think that
really
cooler temperatures would help?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're going to come out of this lockdown phase and potentially hit scrapes again.
Mm-hmm.
And so you might be able to see a little bit better movement here next week or so.
I don't look at Elon's weather app like you do, but I do have a fairly reliable one.
Tyler's on it now.
Oh, is he?
What is
it? My radar?
Oh, it's just mainly the graphics are cool.
That makes sense. That's why people like Teslas. I have been looking. I just, I'm old school, right? I'm kind of boomer-ish. It's Boomer Sooner State, right?
Dude, you definitely are boomer.
I look at the Weather
yesterday.
Channel app, and it always does me right, and it seems as if we have a cold front rolling through parts of the central U.S., including Oklahoma.
That's right.
What you think that's going to change what you could see in daytime?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like I said, I think they're going to, once the cooler temps hit, they might hit the scrapes again and start looking for another doe.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So on a scale of 1 to 10, and the next week, what are the Bucks doing?
I'd hate to give that typical Midwest answer,
Don't do it then. Don't do it.
Could be good, could be bad.
Don't do
it. But I'd honestly probably give it a 6.
Midwest 6!
Oh, no, he did it.
He did it. He's in the Midwest. That's why I did it, dude.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
If he
right,
was still
dude.
here in Texas, it'd be a 7 or 8 probably.
I'm telling you right now, though, here in Illinois, like, it is going crazy. Like, as soon as I cross the Mississippi, there's deer in the fields at noon, 12:30. And as I'm sitting here, I'm on a busy road right now, and like there's at least 20 cars on this road. Give you an idea of how busy it is. And there's a small patch of woods across from me, and like literally 5 seconds ago, a doe was running down the side of the road.
Ooh, man! Better get the headlights on.
That's why
brother.
we leave Texas.
That's right. That's right. You don't
Go
see
elsewhere.
that here.
No.
Well, dude, I hope you have a Merry Thanksgiving, if that's what people say. I don't know. A very thankful Thanksgiving. We're thankful to have you in our lives, and thank you for the report, sir.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Closed it out with the Midwest 6 from Eric Gentry. How about that? But including that, some pretty positive reports from around the country for deer movement, man. I think that people are catching on. Like, this is a good time of year to kill a big deer. You say that all the time. Thanksgiving week is like the time, huh?
That's what I mean. I've had some really good hunts around that time of year, and I remember I had a long hunt one time. I may have talked about this last week, but we went from the Thanksgiving time period, a late Thanksgiving, into December. When I shot a deer early December, that was following a big mature doe. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's just one of those things, man, where I think people give up hope real easy a lot of times when there's still a lot of good hunting to be had out there right now, especially with cold weather coming in.
Guarantee you, man. I don't want to minimize this part of this time of year. It's a great time to reflect. It's a great time to be thankful. It's a good time to focus on your family and your faith and to consider all the blessings you have in life, right? Because that's what this is about. That being said, it is a good time of year to get some good stuff on a good deal. Black Friday's around the corner. Buy your family that you love some Christmas gifts. Go over to the Meteor website and get all the kind of stuff that you want to from that kind of deal. Mm-hmm. If you want to get a little bit more hunting encouragement, there is a new video on the Element channel. We'll link to the channel below. You can go watch me chase a buck around on the ground for, dude, literally I was on this buck for the whole day and then half of another day, like inside of this deer. It was wild. That's all I'm going to tell y'all.
Yeah.
So
there's lots of stuff though coming out. We've been trying to crank out some videos. We got some Texas public land stuff. We've got, Nebraska stuff from earlier this year. We've been just kind of trying to crank that stuff as much as possible in between. KC, you actually have an article about saddle hunting, don't you?
I do. There's an article on the Meat Eater website about should you hunt from a saddle. Go check that out. There's a pretty funny social media post that Tyler and I put out there because humor is what makes this world go around right now, man, because there's a lot of depressing things, so we like to be funny.
Sure enough.
But and then there's a video that goes along with that about shooting from a saddle and why you should maybe consider it. Go check that out if you haven't.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, thanks for listening. This has been Rut Fresh. Keep it fresh.
Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay? Every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Art Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.